When the world starts shifting, the first thing people look for is steady leadership, not the loudest voice in the room, not the fanciest plan, but the clearest vision. How do you lead with clarity, calm, and conviction when everything around you feels uncertain? Let's go ahead and talk about it today. Hello there. Welcome back to Transformation Station, the podcast where leaders grow from the inside out. Listen, I'm your host, Adrienne Benton. I'm going to go ahead and make a confession right now. I have a sore throat. So I want to thank you in advance for hanging with me tonight, pushing past that and staying honed in on the amazing gems that are going to come from this conversation, because today's episode is all about leadership under pressure and how to keep your team aligned, inspired, and moving forward even when the path ahead is foggy. So listen, I'm super excited about our guest today. That's right. We have Pastor Tina Carriger, who is with us today. Let me tell you just a little bit about her. Pastor Carriger was born and raised in Lincoln, Nebraska, the oldest of 3 children. It was never her dream or desire to pastor, but when God calls you, you either respond or live in disobedience. 2017, she joined Oakwood University pastoral staff, where she served for 2.5 years there. For 4 years, she pastored the First SDA Church in Springfield, Tennessee, and she accepted then a call to join the pastoral staff of the Community Praise Church in Alexandria, Virginia, under the leadership of Pastor Warfield Jr. Ministry, she says, is a humbling experience, and she considers it an honor to serve in whatever capacity Christ calls her. Pastor Carriger, welcome to Transformation Station.
Thank you for having me, Chaplain Benton. I consider it an honor and a privilege. You've been one of my homegirls for quite some time, and I have been tremendously blessed by your ministry, your teaching, your counseling, your coaching. All of this makes sense because this is absolutely you.
Praise God. Thank you, Lord. Listen, like I mentioned, I'm so excited about this conversation because not only are we talking about a topic that is really relevant in today's real time, right? But I'm talking to somebody who I know is living it. Both of us are living it. And so this is going to be an epic conversation. Listeners and hearers, I want you to go ahead and get your notebooks, your pens, whatever note-taking device you have, because gems will be dropping today. But listen, Pastor Carriger, I've seen it time and time again, right? Everything feels uncertain. People don't necessarily have a perfect plan. But they're still looking at the leader to remind them of what matters most. So I want to start off by asking you this question, okay? When everything around a team feels uncertain, what does vision really mean? And also, why does it matter in a more volatile, a more pressure time than in a stable time?
The reason vision matters is because vision is the North Star. It's the thing that's supposed to keep you stable when literally everything is chaotic. And it's one thing that should remain clear when nothing else is, just like God himself. In uncertain times, vision becomes a stabilizing force that reminds people why we exist and what we are ultimately moving towards. So even though things out there are changing, that vision is the thing that keeps us focused. Somebody put in the chat, #focus. Yes, vision is the thing that keeps us focused. When a church or a ministry has a clearly communicated and compelling vision, people don't panic as quickly. They trust the process because they can still see the purpose. Organization gives vision structure, and structure keeps us from drifting. Again, it's about the focus.
I love that. So, here in Transformation Station, we always take some time to invite and encourage our leaders who are listening and watching to stop and assess. So one of the things that Pastor Carriger talked to us about is this word focus. I'm going to ask you, double down again, Pastor Carriger, why is focus important? right? Why is focus important? Especially in times of pressure, but just in general. Why is it important? We talk about being a leader. You have to have a team in order to lead, right? Talking about being a leader who's leading a team. Why is focus important?
Focus is important. Well, focus is only important if you have a goal, right? So only when you have a goal does focus matter. So that's why your vision and mission exists, is to keep you it gives you the pathway so that way you can actually meet the goal and arrive at the goal that you're trying to achieve. When you're not focused, the goal doesn't matter. If the goal is not important, you're going to be here, there, everywhere, and you never arrive at the intended destination that was meant for you to be at. So focus is because of, if number one, you got to have a goal. If you don't have a goal, focus don't matter. You'll just be doing whatever. But if you do have a goal, that focus is what's going to keep you disciplined so that you can actually arrive at where you're trying to get to.
I love that. One of the things that I was thinking about when you were talking was, when we as leaders find ourselves in these pressure times, right? And we find the focus, we have the focus, we have the goal, we're communicating vision. There are certain things that leaders should strive to do when we have the focus and we have the vision. One of them that I was thinking about when you were talking was this one: anchor in purpose, right? Keep reminding your team of the deeper why, not the temporary how. I know for me, at times as a leader in the past, I have yielded to the temptation of focusing on the right now, right?
Yes.
How are we going to get it done? How are we going to get it done? And then my team, they're moving kind of robotically under the pressure, but they don't understand the why. And so we may get it done for this Sabbath or for this execution, whatever the mission is, and then it goes away. As opposed to when they understand the why, they put more time, they put more effort, it's more concrete and it's more lasting. Have you seen that?
Yeah, and it also protects your people in ways that they don't understand that they need protection for. So one of as you were speaking, I was immediately thinking about during the pandemic, a lot of pastors had to keep their congregations focused, especially when we were closed and other churches were open. And they're looking to us to find out, why are we still closed? And the reason, the purpose, the focus, the discipline is we're closed to keep y'all safe.
Yes.
We are closed because we're wanting to keep you safe. So I can't be distracted by what the other people are doing, can't be distracted by what other businesses are doing. I have to maintain a focus because the goal is your health, your safety. What can we do? And that's what we have to do as leaders, despite the pressure and despite the things happening around, is keeping that central focus on whatever the goal is at that time.
Absolutely. I want us to kind of focus on, I'm going to throw this out there. Another thing that I have found that I've had to strive to do well is this: simplify the message. In uncertainty, clarity beats complexity. Repeat the core truth until it takes root. That can be really challenging because when you're under pressure, that deadline and that timeline, the last thing you want to do, Pastor Carriger, is repeat yourself.
Yeah.
It's important, right? That you simplify the message until it takes root. And sometimes we won't necessarily see the evidence of it taking root.
Yeah.
You will see it in the manifestation of how your people move forward.
Yeah, and not just simplify the message, but be repetitive with it, because they need to hear it, but also you yourself as the leader got to be reminded. You got to keep yourself reminded about why we're doing what we're doing, lest ye forget.
So true. So if I hear you correctly, what you're saying to our leaders, to us, is when it comes to focus and vision and goal, it's not just about making sure the people understand it, but we must first. To thy own self be true, right? We must be the first receivers, hearers, understanders of what the focus and mission. And even if we don't have all the answers, nobody has all the answers. I've had multiple projects where, as we were moving forward, more clarity came, but we at least had those first steps. We at least had the why or the vision that was put out there. Hey, this is where we're trying to get to, and this is why we're trying to get there. These are the steps we're going to take, right?
Yeah.
Okay. So the next question I want to ask you, Pastor Carriger, is: leaders are often told to communicate more during change. But
Mm.
your experience, what does effective communication actually look like when people are, I want to hear this, when people are anxious or resistant? What does effective communication look like for a leader when people are anxious or resistant?
So my love language happens to be it's words of affirmation, but I think undergirding all of that, my love language is communication. And what I've discovered in myself and why it's one of my love languages, but also why people need communication is communication brings clarity, and it reminds the people that there actually is a plan, that we are doing something, because the absence of communication leads to people having no idea what's going on. And
Mm,
when there's that vacuum, then people get scared, they feel
mhm,
insecure, they don't know what to think, and so they start devising their own ideas, and that
mhm,
can possibly run countercultural to what you're actually trying to do for them.
mhm,
So I fundamentally believe, I'm a communicator. God is ultimately a communicator, and the reason he communicates is because he does not want us to believe or to think or to feel that we're just out here trying to figure things out on our own. We're not. And
mhm,
so it's important for the leader to communicate so that way the people don't feel like they have been abandoned, that they are alone, that they are like sheep without no shepherd. They need to know
mhm,
that
mhm.
there is a plan.
Yes, absolutely, 1000%. I was thinking about this as you're talking, and one of the things I was thinking is, they talk about psychological safety in the workplace, right? I
Yes.
have found over the years when I actually stopped to like really hone in that everybody's afraid of something. And
Mm,
many times when we find those who are we're leading when they are anxious or they're resistant, there's something that they're afraid of. They're
yeah.
afraid of either their opinions won't matter. They're afraid that they can't complete whatever it is you're asking them to do. They're afraid of being controlled. They're like whatever it is. And sometimes when it comes to the practical side of when we find our teams being resistant,
Yeah.
I have found that as opposed to just totally pushing through and saying, "You gotta get this done. I don't know what's
Yeah.
going on, but you better
Yeah.
figure it out." No, no. What's going on?
Yeah.
Like, they have a conversation, a clarifying conversation, right? Where you just talk to them, that human factor, you bring that empathy in and begin to ask questions where you can understand where the root of the anxiety or the resistance is coming from. I look back over my career, Pastor Carriger, and there are some leaders that I wish
Mm.
they had
Hmm.
if they had just asked me a question.
Yeah. Yeah.
If they had just said, "Hey, I see you're frustrated all the time. Like,
Yeah.
what's going on?" As
Yeah.
opposed to it would have made a world of difference.
Yeah. So as you're talking, I think one of the earliest lessons I learned as a leader was just how important, and it's a very easy thing to do. When I was an intern at a church somewhere in America.
Yes, ma'am. Yes, ma'am.
And I was listening to the concerns of the leaders that were in this church. And I mean, the absence of communication brings anxiety, it brings frustration. To your point, it brings fear. And as I
Yeah.
was listening to their hearts and listening to what they were saying with their mouths, I realized that this is a very easily solvable solution. If they
Wow.
want to be communicated with, hello, that's exactly what I'm about to do.
Mhm.
And listen, and when people have been traumatized by a lack of communication, man, when you start talking, it kind of they start to let down their guard. And here's the thing about communication: it builds leadership capital. When
Wow.
you communicate,
Wow.
it builds leadership capital, because the people really do want to know what's happening. They want to know where to go. They need the direction, and you got to utilize all forms of communication, whether
Mm,
it's your
talk
personality
about it.
style or not.
Talk about it. Talk about it. Talk about it.
Yes.
And that's a part of, I think, communication and leadership 101, right?
Yeah.
Many times we are in relationships, we move through it, 5 love languages, right? We love the way we want to be loved. Many times we communicate and expect that our teams are going to communicate back with us, or
Hmm.
will receive our communication the way we want or the way we process. And you're right. You can't you have to use all modalities of communication, right?
Yes, and you cannot, especially as a leader, you
Mhm.
have to communicate. Because the other thing that I'm discovering as I continue to lead is that people don't know what you're thinking if you don't say it. Right?
Mm.
So you cannot expect people to be able to read your mind or have some telepathic ministry going. No, no, no. You have to say stuff. And people want to know how they can best support you as a leader. The only way they can know that is that you have to communicate.
So then that brings me to this moment of assessment right here, where we look at a best practice, right? Be transparent, not perfect.
Yes.
Admit what you know, what you don't, and what you're doing to find out. That's the
Yes.
character, right? We stay
Mhm.
anonymous, right? But from your years of experience, talk to us about how has this shown up? What have you noticed? What have you learned over the years when it comes to be transparent, not perfect?
Yeah. So I build leadership capital when I say I legitimately don't know. Literally. The misnomer about leadership is that we are all knowing,
Mhm,
all
mhm.
whatever, that we're omnipresent, omnipotent, and omniscient. We are none of those. We are literally none of
Yeah,
those. We are human
yeah,
beings who are trying the best that we can with what we can. And there
mhm,
are a good amount of things we do know, but life be life and
yeah,
whatever the case may be. And so the reality is that when I'm honest, and here's the thing, we have to as leaders, we have to get over our own ego, right? We have egos. I have an ego. We all got a certain amount of ego that propels us
mhm,
as leaders. But
absolutely.
humility and leadership capital can be built when you're honest enough to tell your people, I don't know, but guess what? I'm about to find out. And
Mhm,
once I find out, y'all can't tell me nothing.
mhm, mhm.
but
Absolutely.
but they will be able to, but they can trust your humanity, they trust your heart by not pretending that, because the worst thing you can do is to
Worse.
pretend that you know and you have
Mhm,
no idea, and you end up leading your people it
mhm.
counterproductive to your vision and your mission. You lead them
Yes.
into bad places because you try to pretend like you know, and there's a whole lot of leaders that do that.
Yes. And you know what? Honestly, like as you're talking, I'm thinking it's a delicate balancing act, right?
Hmm.
Because okay, so one, you are the leader. You are the leader positionally, right?
Hmm. Hmm.
And that comes with a certain amount of responsibility.
Yeah.
Your responsibility is to lead, is to guide, right? Is to mentor, is to coach. And people are looking to you for the answers, right?
Hmm.
But there has to be, as you mentioned, that humility to be able to say, this is what I know, this is what I don't know, and this is what we're going to do about it. This is
Hmm.
how we're going to grow, how I'm growing myself, how we're going to
Yeah.
figure out the answer. There's a
Yeah.
shared responsibility that has to be there. And for the
Yeah.
leaders listening and watching right now, like you hear Pastor Carriger and I talking from our years of experience, and we're having a candid conversation. I
Hmm.
honestly, those leaders who are listening and watching, and you're struggling, you're wrestling right now with transparency, because a lot of
Hmm.
leaders struggle with, when I'm transparent, then the people don't respect me. When I'm
Yes.
transparent, then I
Yes.
feel like I'm not really leading. I start
Yeah.
to feel insecure because I've opened up with them. It's hard to get that footing back.
Yeah.
Really take some time to understand who you are as a leader, as Pastor Carrick mentioned, asking God to ground you in that. And then
Mhm.
also asking God to give you that delicate balance of transparency. One of the things that I constantly remind my team of, Pastor Carricker, is we are not called to be perfect, but
Mhm.
we all are called to be progressive. And that's all I'm asking
Mm.
for. And
Mhm.
that's what I'm going to give to you. I'm
Mhm.
not perfect. I will lead to the best of my ability, guide and
Mhm.
mentor and coach,
Mhm.
but I'm not perfect. But I guess what, you can always count on me to
Mhm.
stay in learning mode. And learning sometimes means that I got to step back, put my ego to the side, right?
Mhm.
And
Mhm.
allow someone else to step up and lead, or allow somebody else to have a good idea, right? And
Yes.
just
Yes. Yes. So with that, and I like the fact that you talked about collaboration, because that is, listen, if you don't know, be resourceful enough to have friends who do know how to do what you don't know, or allow for your leader who has the strength that you don't have to be able to stand there and your ego still be intact. The other thing is that if you I believe that the things that we don't know, we should definitely pursue to find out. I'm a huge believer in professional development, whether
Yes.
it's your strength or weakness. Because the thing is, if you admit that you don't know, then you go out, pursue the knowledge that you're missing. When you come back equipped, then you can stand before them again. This time, not as someone who doesn't know, but as someone who found out. And now you can regain your leadership footing in that area to lead them competently, and they will respect you and trust you for at least making that type of effort. But the other thing about leadership is that what should be motivating you to do that is you got to care about who you are leading. If
Well,
you don't care,
thirsty.
listen, you have to care. Leadership is not about you, it's about the people. You are the leader, but you are serving for their best interests, their needs. And that has to be the thing that moves you to find solutions, to find the answers, to find the resources, and to collaborate because you are caring about them.
Listen, I should close the podcast right now. I want to know, viewers and listeners, go ahead and tell us what's resonating with you right now. Like, what are your takeaways from this right now, from this amazing conversation? And I want to ask I want to invite everybody who's listening and watching to ask yourself a few questions. Number one, when was the last time your team faced uncertainty? How did your communication feel to them? We're not asking how did it feel to you. How did it feel to them? You know, I have found, Pastor Carriger, over the years that at times I thought I was being friendly. Other people didn't take it as me being friendly. I thought I was clear in my communication.
Yeah.
Other people walked away confused.
Yeah.
You know, so sometimes the messaging that we believe that we are putting out is not the messaging that our team and those around us receive. So leaders, I want you to answer this question. And the next question I want you to answer is, do you tend to over-explain, under-communicate, or avoid conversation altogether? These three things are leadership traps.
Yes.
Temptations, right?
Yeah.
Sometimes over-explain, people start tuning you out. They don't know where you're going. You're talking way too much. They've lost the focus. Under-communicate, you don't say anything at all. You just avoid, right?
Yeah. Let me jump on that part about avoiding conversations altogether.
Yeah.
I'm going to tell you that in my experience, the reason I am confrontational and I am a communicator, but there have been some times where there is a certain personalities that will cause me to want to avoid having conversations because I don't want the stress. I don't want the grief. I don't want the conflict. I just don't. While I am confrontational, I don't like conflict. And there are some people that evoke conflict, and I just don't want the drama in my life, right? And can I give some free advice? Sit with your counselor to process why there's some scenarios that you feel emboldened and empowered and courageous to have those conversations, and who are those personalities that kind of cause you to want to be avoidant. Avoidance is not good. The Lord will allow scenarios to keep circling around you until you actually deal with stuff. I have, in my experience, talked to my counselor about certain personalities that have been difficult for me to confront. And believe it or not, with all the education that we have, the truth of the matter is we are still a product of our upbringing. So whatever traumas that a leader has had in their childhood and their upbringing, make sure you also sit with a counselor. Keep that person on tap.
Yes.
Because there are going to arise situations and circumstances and people in particular that are going to trigger something in you that you're not going to want to deal with. And it has really nothing to do with them. It's unprocessed trauma that will cause us to avoid conversations.
I love it. Thank you so much for sharing and being open and honest with us. I want to ask you this question, because I know this tends to come up many times in conversation. How can a leader maintain credibility when they don't have all the answers, right? And then here's the big piece. What's the balance between honesty and optimism? Woo! Come on now. Come on.
Ooh, the balance between, okay, so the credibility is by being honest and being consistent. Consistency is very important. When people pay attention to the pattern, they can trust what you're doing. What was the second part of that question?
What's the balance between honesty and optimism?
Oh, okay. I think it's necessary that the leader has a positive outlook on the
Mhm,
future, right? I mean, you can't. I remember I had a leader working with me who was consistently negative and critical. I'm over
mhm,
here Captain Positive. I believe that we about to take over the world. But I had a leader with me who was critical and negative.
mhm,
And the effect that I was like, I can't operate like this, because if and in my in some ways, that type, the opposite can help keep you grounded, and you need grounding, like you need to be realistic. But people want to feel hopeful, they want to be inspired, and the role of leader is, casting that type of vision. The balance is, see the vision, see what's possible, but also don't lose sight of what's realistic, because you can be so heavenly minded that you're no earthly good. You
mhm,
can't even arrive at the vision if you don't even know what's happening on the ground. So
mhm.
the balance is, see, look ahead, but also don't neglect what's presently right there in front of you.
I love that. And I want to invite our viewers and listeners to do this. Practice optimism with integrity. That's a
Yeah.
key word right there. Everybody knows what integrity means, right?
Mhm.
Practice optimism, as Pastor Carriger said, staying positive. Authentic optimism doesn't deny reality. There's a way
Yeah.
to say we have a problem. There's a way
Yeah.
to say this goal is big. There's a way
Yeah.
to say there are some challenges that are in front of us. There's a
Mhm.
way to say this is going to take some effort, right? So
Mhm.
don't deny reality,
Mhm.
but frame it through the lens of faith and perspective, right? Faith.
Mhm.
I believe that the impossible can be possible. I
Yeah.
believe that
Yeah.
we can work together to cause things to move in the direction, right?
Yeah.
Replace everything's fine with everything's changing, but we're growing through it.
Yes, let me also say this with optimism. The optimism has, again, it's about the people that you're leading. So they have to be able to trust that the vision and the optimism is tailored, customized for them, not
Mm,
you trying to make them into somebody else that they're not.
mm,
So if they can see this other version of themselves, or this other version of the entity that is true to who they are, that is easier to embrace than you trying to make them visioning for them something that's really for somebody totally different.
mhm, mhm, mhm. I want to ask you this question, right? What practical strategies help you stay calm, clear, and confident when you know your perspective won't be popular? This is a key question for leaders today.
Yeah, so I'm gonna draw on the Toy Story theme song. You got a friend in me. I got friends.
Yes, yes.
So what helps to keep me, because listen, I know I'm a lot. I'm all over the place. I got ideas, dreams, aspirations, whatever. I rely on a village of people that are smart as me, smarter than me, as smart as me, who understand my heart and can hear me let it all out as authentically as I need to in the moment, but then help me to break myself back down and put me back in focus and in perspective, to speak into my soul, to help to keep me confident. So that's what I do. I rely heavily on my village of friends and colleagues that are doing what I want to do, but doing it better than me, and them reminding me, just them affirming me, pouring into me, letting me know that where your mind is at is not, you're not off. You can do this, but it may take some time or whatever. Them just, so yes, that is my reality check, is my village of support.
I love that 1000% to our listeners and our viewers. If you don't have a village, it's not impossible to get one.
Yeah.
if you're a person of faith, I want to invite you to pray and ask
Mhm.
God to bring that one, that two,
Yeah.
right, into
Yeah.
your life that you can trust, because it's not if you're going to have hard times. It's not if you're going to face opposition. It's a matter of when. It really is, as a leader, right? And sometimes, to be honest, Pastor Carriger, that's when you really grow. It's
Oh,
not
yes.
when it's fine, everybody's applauding you. It's
Yeah.
when you have some challenges, there's some
Mhm.
adversities that are there, that you're able to develop those leadership skills, right? And really grow into the leader that you are. And so, a couple of things we want to remind you: seek trusted feedback, not universal approval.
Oh,
Uh,
yes.
it's tough. It's tough. That feedback thing is tough, Pastor Carrigan. I had people in the past who would say to me, when you preach, you need to watch. I don't want to watch myself preach. Like, no, but man, I saw some stuff.
I mean, literally, I just preached just recently, and got some feedback about my appeal. And and the thing is that people, they mean well, but they don't often understand timing. They don't understand, they're not thinking necessarily about what could be happening in your own personal life. They don't know the weights that you're carrying, and they just be saying things. Sometimes they know they don't care, sometimes they don't care, and they just say stuff. So yeah, leadership, if you are a leader, criticism and feedback is par for the course. You just have to know, prayerfully know, what to process and digest and what to disregard, and whatever. And then the other side to your point is, having yes men everywhere is also not good. You cannot, I mean, there's no growth there. You
Yeah.
need some resistance, because everything you're thinking is not correct. Now, there are many things you have that might be correct, but
Yeah.
everything ain't correct. Some of your ideas are wild, and they're trash. Can I just say that?
Yeah. You
Some of
can.
y'all, listen, some of us got some trash ideas. I know for a fact that I've had some ideas that, if I did not meet resistance, it would have been a disaster if I would have executed it. So
Yeah.
yes, and trust that, the people who have been in whatever context you're in, if they've been there longer than you need that historical reference. Because
Mm,
the thing is, it's about them, it's not about you. So you don't
mhm,
need universal approval. It's nice to have approval because that helps, keep you motivated, but you also
mhm,
need context.
mhm. So true. So true. A lot of times we want to rush in, right? And just
Yeah.
be the hero, make it
Yes.
happen. But you really got to understand historical things, right? Historical
Mhm.
data, historical context, perspective. You also need to take time to really understand the culture that you are in.
Yes.
You know?
Mhm.
I was thinking about another one, right? And that's ground yourself before you speak.
Yeah.
And this takes me back to what you were saying earlier, right? We talk about how do we stay calm? How do we stay centered? So I have learned over the years that before entering a difficult conversation or a difficult decision that I know about, you can't predict everything, but if I know I'm walking into a difficult boardroom, I'm walking into a difficult meeting, somebody's coming into my office, it has the potential to be a very contentious conversation. I've got to ground myself. I need to pray. I need to write in my journal. I need to pause. Well, whatever it is that will ground and center me, I need to do it, because
Yeah.
I've learned over the years, Pastor Carriger, I cannot lead calmly in public if I have not found calm in private.
Yeah. 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 I mean, literally, I've told other pastors that I really pastor through my friends. I mean, that's literally that has been the thing. I'm a whole introvert. I know it's hard to believe because I'm all super animated on this thing. But I'm an introvert, but man, community matters so much to me. I need community,
Mhm,
because even at the end of the day, even though I recharge from being alone, I cannot do life. I can't do ministry, leadership. I can't do those things alone. I need people to surround me, to speak to me, to affirm me, to encourage me. Like, I need that. That's what literally helps keep me grounded. So I give all of my wild ideas to my village, and get in before I, now granted, there's also my own judgment that I have to be able to exercise regardless of what people say. But man, the village helps to keep me grounded, so that way I am moving the way that I desire to, move and to stand as a person of integrity and
mhm.
leadership.
I love it. I love it. And I'm going to do one more before we turn the corner.
Mhm.
Clarify your why. And I
Yes.
think it's really important for us as leaders to clarify our why. You know, they say research wise, every 6 months we should have a clarifying conversation with ourselves,
Mhm.
right? Are you meeting your goals? It's not just about the goal as far as execution of it, but it's like, have your goals, has there been a shift in your life, a shift in your life circumstances that would cause your goals to shift? Are you focusing on the right things, or are you majoring in the minor things, right?
Mhm.
So clarify your why. And in clarifying your why, especially because this conversation is talking about leading in volatile times, leading in high pressure times. As leaders, we have to ask ourselves, is this about me being right,
Yeah.
or about what's right for the mission, for the people, for the culture? What is this right here, this pressure time, this difficult conversation, this change that's happening? Is this about me being right? I got the answers. Or is this about what's right for? Go ahead and end the sentence. So, leaders, we want to invite you, when you find yourself in these high pressure times in which you're leading, stop and ask yourselves these questions. Whew, Tina, this conversation has been so rich. So as we turn the corner here, I want to ask you this question.
Mhm.
In times of rapid change, how
Mhm.
can leaders keep their teams aligned with the vision without overloading them with information?
Hmm. I think first the leader has to maintain their own alignment. You can't align, you can't keep them aligned if you're not aligned. They're following your energy, they're following your personality, they're following your leadership. And if you are not aligned, whether you think it matters or not, they will pick up on that unalignment, and they too will also be unaligned. And then what was the a second part of your question?
Yeah. So in rapid times of rapid change, how can leaders keep their teams aligned with the vision without overloading them with information? So
Yes.
how can we keep everybody in alignment without this constant, data dump, information filled?
Yeah, I would say check in on your people. Number one, check in on your people to find out how they're processing what you're communicating. And
Mhm.
then use maturity and discernment to know, okay, I've said enough. But the people will tell you whether you're doing too much or not, or whether you're not doing enough. And
Mm.
so make sure that you're listening and
Mhm.
tuned in to what your people are saying, because that is going to guide how you communicate and move forward.
Absolutely. And to our listeners and viewers right now, I want to invite you in the chat. Go ahead and tell us, like, in rapid times of change, like, how do you keep your teams aligned with the vision without overloading them?
Ooh,
Whatever,
can I say something else?
please go ahead. Mhm.
And don't be ashamed to do some practical, have some practical strategies to actually get that information. So do a survey, poll your people. Having that type of data is extreme. I love structure. So having that type of data is really important. That will give you clarity as to,
Mhm.
okay, this is what they prefer, because maybe your method of communication is too much. But if you
Mhm.
have real-time data in front of you, then you can tailor and meet their needs according to what they've actually said.
I love it. I love it. I love it. And another one that I thought about is create rhythms, not reactions.
Yes.
Establish a steady cadence for updates, weekly check ins, consistent format so people know when and how information will come. Um, one of my um, work assignments somewhere in the world, I had a team, and like literally it was nonstop. We were always like, you catch, you hold, you throw back out, catch, hold, it was nonstop. And I realized very quickly we had to establish a check in that kept me from micromanaging,
Yeah.
gave people an opportunity to do what they need to do, but also held the team accountable without me having to go and say, did you do this? And so we established our weekly staff meeting, and it wasn't just a time for us to sit around the table and look at each other. We had an agenda, there was structure. People understood the information that they needed to bring to the team meeting. We began to establish the type of vocabulary and conversations that needed to be had there. Could we have fun? Of course. Like the team I'm at now, before we start a meeting, we always go around the table and say, "How are you doing?" Like a check-in. Hey, did
Yeah.
anybody do anything fun this past weekend?
Yeah.
Anybody learn something? Just give 5 or 10 minutes
Yeah.
just for the team to kind of start off on a unifying, and then we go into business. Yes.
So as you're talking, I thought about that old commercial that said happy cows make happy milk. And the reality is that when the people feel okay, they produce better. And the temptation we can experience, especially in larger organizations, is that everything is so productive driven that you can almost forget about the people themselves. And so having those check-ins to find out where's the level of fatigue, really kind of ministering to the humanity of the person. If you can care enough as a leader, yeah, there's a goal. Yes, there's things we're trying to get accomplished. Yes, we're task oriented. Yes, we want to be productive. Yes, if we're not arriving at the certain metrics, we might lose the whole business. Yes, all of those things are true. But if you don't check in on the people who are doing the work, you will not have whatever it is you're trying to do.
Yes.
So
Yes.
yeah.
I love this. I love this. Okay. Like for real, for real. This is really the
Yes.
last question. For real,
Yes.
for real. Okay. So we want to end on a note where we are infusing, hope and inspiration, right? So here's the last question. How can we teach emerging leaders to advocate for truth and values without burning bridges or closing doors? We're in this season of the revolution, right? But how can we teach emerging leaders who are growing, who are coming in, right, to advocate for truth and values without burning bridges or closing doors?
You have to make a compelling case for the why. That's what you have to do. You have to be able to explain why they should care the way that you care. Yeah, so that why has to be clear. That why has to really be clear. Yeah, it's your cause, but why does that matter to me? Yeah, you're advocating for something, but why? What difference is it going to make? I think your why has to be clear.
I love it. I love it. I love it. So listen, Pastor Carriger, this has been an amazing conversation. I really have enjoyed it. And I really feel like we just kind of scratched the surface here, right? So we're going to have to invite you to come back again for a part 2. If you want Pastor Carriger to come back for part 2, I need you to go ahead and right now put part 2 in the chat. But to be like for real, on a serious note, I know that there are leaders that are listening and watching that definitely are resonating with what you have shared with us today. So I want to ask you this: for the leaders that would like to reach out to you, please tell us the resources you have and how can we do that?
All right. So you can always follow me on I have a website called theorganizedchurch.com where I have a whole lot of structural resources that are designed to support and help churches in particular to be organized in a way that facilitates growth. I believe very strongly in structures and systems. And then you can also follow me on Instagram and Facebook. And yeah, that's how you can reach me. But the main platform you can go is to my website.
I love that. Fantastic. Pastor Carriger, thank you so much for joining us today. We're going to have you back again. We truly appreciate you.
Thank you so much. Thank you. To honor and privilege to be asked to be able to share some gems, just a little bit, just a tiny bit.
I love it. Thanks so much. We'll see you again really soon.
Okay.
All right. Well, there you have it. I want to remind you right now, if you're leading through change, you don't have to have all the answers. You just have to stay anchored in your purpose, grounded in your values, and open to growth. If this series has helped you reflect on your own leadership journey, I'd love to hear from you. Go ahead and share in the chat or send me a DM. What's one insight or practice you're taking away from this season of Transformation Station? Drop your reflections. And if you have not subscribed, why not? Go ahead and turn on the notifications so you don't miss what's coming next. Thank you for being a part of the journey. Until next time, stay grounded, stay growing, and keep on transforming.